Yo, what's going on, Kicks Army? Today I'm going to be doing a sneaker drawing on the Air Max 95 Hyper Jade that's set to release in the upcoming weeks, as well as talking about the expectations for the Lakers this season. Let's get it! As always, you can go ahead and find this stencil along with many others on my website, KicksArt.com. I upload new stencils daily, and you can go ahead and request stencils you'd like to see added to the website through the contact tab on the site. And speaking of the stencils, one thing that I'm going to start doing as well is I'm going to start posting the pictures of the new stencils that I'm adding to the site on YouTube as well. That'll be through the community tab, so if you're on mobile or if you're just scrolling through the site, it's going to pop up as part of your feed. I think it's convenient that way, so that way a lot of people on YouTube who subscribe to the channel will see that as well. That was one of the pieces of advice that I got from one of the YouTube specialists over at Broadband TV. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually part of a network called NBA Playmakers, which is owned by Broadband TV. One of the cool things they do is that they have these YouTube specialists that reach out to me, and every month or so, every 2 weeks, they'll reach out to me. We'll do like a Skype interview for an hour, and we'll just kind of go over the channel and we'll talk about all the things that I could be doing to improve, as well as looking at some of my analytics to determine what I should be doing and what I should be switching up. Which is really useful because it's always good to get feedback on how I can improve the channel in terms of analytics. Obviously, in terms of the creativity and the content of the videos, that's all on me, but in terms of what works structurally, in terms of the analytics for YouTube's algorithms, it's good to get that advice. Another thing he recommended too is that it's probably better if I go ahead and I upload these videos a lot earlier in the morning, so like around 6 or 7 a.m. as opposed to like 1 in the morning. Long story short, I'm going to try to see if I can get these videos uploaded earlier on in the day, but you can always stay notified whenever I upload a new video by hitting that subscribe button and bounce passing that bell to get post notifications. So to talk about the sneaker real quick, I saw images of it pop up on Sneaker News on Instagram today, and I thought it was dope. I believe this one is being dubbed Hyper Jade, although that could change, and there is no release date just yet. Supposedly, it's supposed to release in the upcoming weeks. And as far as the color names for the sneaker go, it's White, Flash Crimson, Hyper Jade. Retail is going to be 160 bucks, and I honestly like this sneaker. It's got kind of like a summery, kind of like a Miami Beach kind of vibe with it. The orange on the sneaker is very subtle, being on the swoosh as well as the top lace loop and a little bit on the tongue as well. And it's that little bit of subtleness that it has with the orange that I think really makes the shoe stand out. If it wasn't for that orange, I might not be as into it. Whenever I personally look at sneakers, I think about this a lot. I think about how the sneaker is in terms of the colorway, and I think about, man, if this color was just different, I would either love it and or hate it. Long story short, I think it's a dope colorway. The price point isn't too bad, but you guys already know I'm not copying anything for a while. I can't afford it. I'm a broke college student. It is what it is. Now, you guys already know that I love watching these sports debate shows such as First Take, First Things First, Undisputed, all of those shows I love. And I guess the new story for today is that it seems very improbable with a number of like highly respected analysts that the Lakers will be able to even make the playoffs, which to me is just unfathomable. Like the way this team is set up, like the playoffs is not the most far-fetched thing for them to achieve. Let's just forget for a second that LeBron James went there. Let's just take that out of the context real quick. They won 35 games last season in the Western Conference. We all know now that the Western Conference for a while, and when I say a while, I mean like a while, has been the dominant conference between the two. It's part of the reason why a lot of people don't give LeBron the credit that he deserves for making 8 straight finals appearances, even though he did it in the Eastern Conference. But that's besides the point. The point is that last year the Lakers won 35 games. Now, while 35 games isn't the most impressive number of wins, you have to consider A, they're a relatively young team, B, their draft pick for that season, which was the number 2 overall draft pick, Lonzo Ball, missed 30 games due to injury. And when he was playing, he played pretty well, and Kuzma was also a nice surprise that a lot of people didn't see coming. They of course have Ingram, who was in his second season, and he does need to put on some weight, but I feel like he could be a good asset in the future. And more importantly, last year was the first year that they had Magic Johnson as the head of basketball operations for the Lakers. And with all of those variables, they were able to get 35 wins. Now, even though 35 wins isn't good, it's a lot better than like 20-something wins like my Orlando Magic have been getting for like the past 8 seasons. Like if my Magic got 35 wins this upcoming season, I'd be like, okay, that's not too bad. We're getting better. I can see the improvement. So this upcoming season, Lonzo is going to be a sophomore, Kuzma is going to be a sophomore, and Ingram's going to be in his 3rd season. So by default, they're all going to get better over this offseason and over the course of the regular season. Like, that's just going to happen for sure. You have these young players who are still developing, who are good young players, working together, meshing together, and more importantly, growing together as a team. So I would think just off of that alone, they would win more games than they did last season, so that would be more than 35 games. Plus, you also have to remember that they added Rajon Rondo, who is a really good either backup point guard or starting, depending on how they want to use him. Of course, he's more than willing to go ahead and work with Lonzo to help develop his game to improve him as a player. Also added Lance Stevenson. By default, he's like a nice role player, but more importantly, he's annoying. He's a disruptor, right? He blew in LeBron James's ear for crying out loud multiple times. And what he provides is a high level of energy that's the kind of intangible that you won't see that'll show up in the box score, but is good to have on your team. You are also adding Michael Beasley, who last year averaged about 13 points, but the key is that he did it with 50% shooting, which is a good sign. You don't want a guy averaging 13 points with like 40%, 35%, 50% is a good number for that. And on top of that, you're adding JaVale McGee. So I guess it's good that he is taken out of the Warriors, even though he really didn't add too much to that team. The point is, he was in that system for a few years. He's kind of integrated with the players. He should know some things about the organization, what they like to do, so maybe he can provide some kind of value in that end. And at times, he can be a very useful center. He just has to not do, Shaqtin' a Fool things, and he'll be fine. So that's already 4 different veteran players that can help improve the team. So on top of the players, the young core getting naturally better over the course of a season, you're adding those 4 veteran players. And they added this other guy, LeBron James, which is like plus 10 wins easy. And I mean like easy. I mean, I don't even have to go into all the discussion of what he can do for the team. You saw what he did last year. He got his team 50 wins, and that was the most disjointed team. It went through like 2 or 3 different phases of just like complete roster changes, right? He had no Kyrie, and he was able to take that team, carry that team on his back all the way to the finals, and they probably should have won game 1, but J.R. Smith just, I don't know, come on, JR, it still upsets me so much. Point is, I think it's very easy to say they're gonna make the playoffs. I don't think that's really a hot take at all. If anything, I think it'll be a hot take if they don't make the playoffs. Can you imagine that? Imagine the flack they would get from the media and everybody else if they don't make the playoffs, considering they have LeBron James and all the other things that they have going on with the team that should propel them to the playoffs. We're not talking about being like a 1, 2, or 3 seed. We're just talking about making the playoffs. As long as they're an 8 seed, they're in the playoffs, which I believe is well within the realm of possibility. That being said, if I think they're going to make the playoffs, which I do not think they're going to be an 8 seed. I would probably put them between like that 4 to 6 range, which means I also do expect them, based on experience alone, to advance past the first round. After that, it's pretty much a toss-up. Nobody really knows how this team is going to function because, well, we haven't seen them play yet. But just based on the pieces that they have, what they did last season with what little they had, I think it's very easy to say they're going to be a very entertaining team to watch. And when you have a player like LeBron James and those other 4 veterans that they added that we talked about, I think at the very least there is like a fundamental level of stability that's going to be there, that's going to be able to drive them through the first round and at least make it so they go at least 6 games in the second round, I'm predicting. And if they go beyond that, if they advance past that point, that's great, but that only makes the expectations for the following season that much higher, which I'm fine with, but they're the ones that gotta live up to it, not me. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and bounce past that bell to get post notifications. Don't forget to check out KicksArt.com for all your sneaker stencil needs, as well as checking out some of the other awesome videos on the channel. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Yee!